If your legs feel weaker after 60, the real problem might be sitting in your fruit bowl. Welcome back to the Senior Health Podcast, where every episode is about staying strong, independent, and sharp as you age. I'm Dr. Grant, and today, we're exposing something most people never question: fruit. Because while fruit sounds healthy, some of the most common ones, the ones marketed as light, clean, and heart-friendly, can quietly destroy your leg strength after 60. They spike inflammation, they worsen circulation, and they can make even a short walk feel like a workout. To help us unpack this, I'm joined once again by Japan's oldest practicing doctor, the remarkable Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara. Over 100 years old, still moving with ease, still speaking with precision, and today, still teaching us how to protect our mobility, one habit at a time. Dr. Hinohara, thank you as always. Let's get into it. Why are some fruits so dangerous, especially for seniors?
Thank you, Dr. Grant. It is always a gift to be here, especially when we are talking about something as deceptive as fruit. Because yes, many fruits are healing, but not all of them. And after 60, the body changes. What once gave us strength may now be silently taking it away. People think weakness comes from aging, from doing less, but often it comes from what we continue to eat, without question, without adjustment. The truth is, certain fruits, eaten daily, are not harmless. They disrupt blood flow, they damage the vessels that feed your muscles, and over time, they can make the legs feel heavier, stiffer, and slower, even if you're still moving.
That really catches me off guard, because fruit is the one thing people don't second guess. We tell patients to eat more of it, not less. But if I'm understanding you, even something as innocent as fruit can become toxic to circulation, especially for seniors?
Yes, and that is exactly why this must be said out loud. The danger is not obvious. These are fruits that sit in bowls, offered with kindness. They are not candy. They are not processed, and yet they are quietly draining power from the very limbs that carry your life forward. I will explain everything: what these fruits are, why they harm the body after 60, and what to eat instead. But we must take our time, because this is not just about sugar. It is about circulation, inflammation, muscle memory, and the difference between looking healthy and being healthy.
That's exactly why we need this conversation. Because if something looks natural and comes from the earth, most people assume it can't possibly cause harm. But you're saying there's more to the story, especially after 60. So let's begin. What's the first fruit seniors should be cautious of, and why?
The first one is grapes. And I say this with care because grapes have a beautiful history. They are sweet, symbolic, and often seen as a clean snack. But after 60, grapes can quietly sabotage the legs. Here's why. Grapes are extremely high in fructose, not glucose, not fiber-rich, complex carbs, fructose. And fructose behaves differently in the body. It doesn't go into your bloodstream like other sugars. Instead, it goes straight to your liver. And in aging bodies, where liver efficiency has already slowed, this becomes a problem. Fructose overwhelms the liver. It raises uric acid levels, and that uric acid interferes with nitric oxide, the compound your blood vessels use to relax and expand. Without it, circulation narrows. And when circulation narrows, blood doesn't reach your legs efficiently. That means less oxygen, less nutrient delivery, and slower muscle repair. Over time, it's like watering a garden through a pinched hose. The legs don't die, they just stop thriving.
That's incredible. I don't think most people realize that the issue isn't just blood sugar spikes. It's how fructose affects blood flow. And I've heard so many patients say their legs feel heavy or slow, even though their labs look fine. Are you saying grapes might be part of that hidden cause?
Exactly, and even worse, grapes are often eaten in handfuls. They don't fill you. They don't trigger fullness hormones. So people eat more. Seniors who are trying to snack light might go through a bowl of grapes in a day without realizing they've overwhelmed their vascular system. In traditional Japanese medicine, we don't look at food as good or bad. We look at how it behaves in the body. And grapes, though natural, behave like fuel without direction. Sweet, fast, and volatile. That is not what older legs need.
That makes so much sense. And honestly, it's the first time I've heard grapes explained that way. Most people only think about sugar spikes, but the vascular side of it? That's a game changer. And I appreciate that you're not saying grapes are poison, but that after a certain age, our body's ability to process them changes. So let's keep going. What's the second fruit that might be harming seniors, especially those struggling with circulation or leg strength?
The next one is bananas. This surprises people, because bananas are considered gentle, even medicinal in many cultures. And yes, they do contain potassium, which supports muscle function. But they also come with a caveat. They're very high in simple carbohydrates and in seniors with insulin resistance, which is extremely common after 60. Bananas can backfire. Let me be clear, not everyone reacts the same way. But here's what the data tells us. A 2016 study in the journal Nutrients found that in older adults with impaired glucose tolerance, even medium glycemic fruits like bananas caused exaggerated post-meal blood sugar fluctuations, and those spikes lead to microvascular stress. The tiny blood vessels in the legs and feet take the hit first. Add to that the reality that many older adults eat bananas as part of light meals, with toast or as a quick breakfast, and what you get is a high-carb, low-protein, low-fat combination that offers no metabolic cushion. Blood sugar rises fast, insulin follows, and then energy drops. What's left is inflammation, and inflammation erodes strength.
That's a tough one for people to hear because bananas are everywhere, but it explains a lot. That late morning crash, the heavy feeling legs after breakfast. And again, it's not that bananas are bad, but they might not be right for everyone, especially without protein or fiber to slow things down.
Exactly. In traditional practice, we rarely eat bananas alone. They might be included sparingly, and often with fermented dairy or nuts, something to anchor the sugar and slow its arrival in the bloodstream. But here, I see many older patients grabbing a banana and coffee, rushing out the door and wondering why they feel shaky by 11 a.m. That's not just aging, that's physiology under strain.
That's so important because we're not telling people to fear food. We're helping them understand context, how the same fruit can either support the body or stress it, depending on age, timing, and what it's eaten with. Let's keep going, doctor. What's another fruit that might look innocent, but actually interferes with leg strength and muscle recovery in seniors?
Pineapple. And again, this surprises people, because pineapple contains bromelain, an enzyme known for its anti-inflammatory effects. But we must look at the whole fruit, not just the headlines. Pineapple is extremely high in fructose and acidic compounds, and after 60, those acids, combined with sugar, can trigger something few people think about: low-grade edema. Here's how it works. As we age, the endothelial lining of our blood vessels becomes more fragile. When exposed to too much sugar, especially fructose, it becomes inflamed. At the same time, acidity from fruits like pineapple irritates the gut lining in sensitive individuals, impairing nutrient absorption. And when those two stresses combine, the body begins retaining fluid, especially in the legs. This is not just a cosmetic issue. That fluid impairs oxygen delivery to the muscles and slows recovery after walking or exercise.
That's something I've absolutely seen. Seniors saying their legs feel puffy or tight by afternoon, even though they're drinking water and elevating their feet. And most never consider that fruit could be part of the trigger, especially something with such a clean, tropical image.
Indeed. A 2019 study in clinical interventions in aging found that even mild fluid retention in the lower limbs, common among older adults, was associated with reduced walking speed, slower chair rise time, and higher fall risk. And what fuels that retention? Often it's diet-driven inflammation. Pineapple, despite its benefits, can be a key contributor for some seniors, especially when eaten in large quantities or on an empty stomach. This is why I always say, observe your body. One person may tolerate pineapple well. Another may feel heavy-legged within hours. There is no universal rule. But if you notice swelling, tightness, or muscle fatigue after eating certain fruits, pay attention. The body speaks quietly. We must learn to listen.
That last part really resonates with me. The body speaks quietly, because we're so trained to override discomfort, to push through fatigue or brush off swelling as just part of getting older. But what you're teaching is that these subtle signals matter, and sometimes they're the only warning we get. So let's keep peeling this back. What's fruit number 4 seniors should think twice about if they want to preserve leg strength and energy?
Watermelon. And this is a difficult one because it feels so pure. It's mostly water. It's sweet, refreshing, easy to chew. But beneath that simplicity is a metabolic trap, especially for aging muscles. Watermelon is extremely high on the glycemic index. That means it's absorbed very quickly, causing a rapid surge in blood glucose, followed by an equally fast crash. For seniors whose glucose regulation is already impaired, this can be destabilizing. But more importantly, watermelon is low in fiber and protein and has almost no fat. That combination means it doesn't support satiety or muscular repair. Now here's what most people miss. Legs don't just need sugar for movement, they need stability. Sustained blood flow, steady fuel, and nutrients that rebuild micro tears in the muscle. Watermelon offers none of that. It hydrates, yes, but only temporarily. And if eaten in excess, it can dilute essential electrolytes, including magnesium and potassium. That in turn leads to cramping.
I've definitely seen that. Patients who eat fruit all day in the summer and end up with restless legs or night cramps. They're hydrating, but they're not nourishing. And no one thinks the fruit could be the reason.
Exactly, and I always remind them, hydration without mineral support is incomplete. It's like pouring water on a field without soil. The legs may feel cool at first, but inside the tissue is underfueled. A study from the Journal of Nutrition, Health and Aging found that muscle cramping in seniors often correlates not just with dehydration, but with low micronutrient density, especially when diets are high in watery fruits and low in minerals. So again, watermelon is not the villain, but it must be balanced. If you eat it, pair it with something dense, a boiled egg, some miso soup, even a handful of sesame seeds. The body doesn't need extremes, it needs anchors.
This has been incredibly eye-opening, Doctor. And I love that we're not fear-mongering. We're educating, helping people tune into what their body actually needs, not just what marketing or habit tells them is healthy. So let's keep going. What's the 5th fruit we need to be cautious with?
Dried fruit, especially raisins, dates, and dried mango. These are concentrated sugar bombs, often eaten in small handfuls that carry the glucose load of entire meals. For aging bodies, this is dangerous. When fruit is dried, the water and volume shrink, but the sugar stays. A quarter cup of raisins has more sugar than a full soda can. Seniors with compromised insulin sensitivity, thin capillary walls, or prediabetes are especially vulnerable. These spikes damage the endothelium, the inner lining of the blood vessels, which limits the nutrients reaching your lower limbs. Even worse, dried fruit often sneaks in as healthy snacks. A few pieces here, a few there, but the blood sugar sees none of the fiber or water from the original fruit, only the concentrated sugars. That sharp spike followed by a crash creates fatigue, and in the legs, that fatigue translates to instability.
That explains so much. I've had patients eating natural energy bars or trail mixes thinking they're making a better choice, but still feeling exhausted by early afternoon. They never connected that to the dried fruit.
Yes, sir. Because the body doesn't care if sugar comes from nature or from a factory. It reacts the same way. And after 60, we must stop eating like teenagers. Dried fruit is not evil, but for many, it's a mismatch. Too fast, too dense, too easy to overeat.
That line really hit me. The body doesn't care if sugar comes from nature or from a factory. That's such a necessary reality check, especially for older adults who rely on snacks to keep their energy up. All right, doctor, what's next? What's the sixth fruit seniors should be thinking twice about?
Fruit juice. And yes, I'm including orange juice, even when it's freshly squeezed, because the problem isn't the source, it's the form. Juice strips away the fiber, leaving only liquid sugar. It enters the bloodstream almost instantly, and when that happens, your insulin spikes, and your legs suffer. Studies from Harvard and Tufts University have both confirmed that fruit juice consumption is linked to increased risk of type 2 diabetes in older adults, even when consumed in moderate amounts. That risk is not just about glucose, it's about vascular damage. And where does that damage show up first? In the periphery, the legs, the feet, the toes. We also see another issue. People drink juice when they're already tired. They think it will lift their energy, but all it does is lift insulin and crash it later. Over time, that roller coaster trains the body to expect highs and lows, and the muscles, especially in the lower limbs, lose resilience.
That's so true. Juice feels light, but it behaves like a syrup. And again, nobody questions it, because it's fruit. But especially for seniors, that liquid spike can be brutal.
Yes, in Japanese tradition, we almost never drink fruit. We chew it, slowly, in season, in small pieces. Because digestion is not just about chemistry, it's about pace. And juice is too fast. If you want strong legs, you need stable blood. Juice does the opposite.
We've covered so much already. And what I appreciate most is how this all comes back to blood flow, muscle integrity, and stability. Not fear, just awareness. Doctor, what's the last fruit on your list? The seventh one that seniors should be especially mindful of if they care about keeping their legs strong.
The final one, Akshadin, is canned fruit. Whether it's peaches in syrup, fruit cocktail, or pineapples packed in juice, this is where nutrition goes to sleep. Canned fruit may start a natural, but the process strips away enzymes, introduces preservatives, and bathes the fruit in concentrated sugars that quickly overwhelm aging blood vessels. Canned fruit often contains high fructose corn syrup or fruit juice concentrate, both of which are hyperpalatable, meaning they trigger overconsumption. The texture is soft, which seems senior-friendly, but the impact on blood glucose is sharp. And for those already struggling with poor circulation or varicose veins, this can accelerate damage. One study published in the Journal of Gerontology linked high intake of processed fruit products with reduced walking speed and higher levels of C-reactive protein, a marker of systemic inflammation. That's the opposite of what we want for the legs.
And again, people see it as gentle, easy-to-chew comfort food, especially in care homes or senior kitchens. But it's doing the exact opposite of what it promises.
Exactly. If you want to preserve strength after 60, fruit must be eaten with intention, whole, fresh, paired with something grounding, not floating in syrup, not softened by industry. Because strength does not come from sweetness, it comes from balance.
This conversation has been a wake-up call, and I hope everyone listening truly lets it sink in. Because we're not saying fruit is bad. We're saying your body, after 60, is different. It has different needs, different vulnerabilities, and some of the habits that once felt harmless, even healthy, may now be slowing you down, inflaming your tissues, or weakening the very muscles you depend on to stay free and independent. What I love most about your approach, Dr. Hinohara, is that you never give fear. You give clarity, you give reasons, and you give people back control. To everyone listening, you don't have to cut all fruit. You just have to listen to your body. Pay attention to how you feel after you eat. Watch your energy, your balance, your recovery. Those are the signs. Doctor, for the seniors out there who are feeling a little overwhelmed, maybe even surprised by some of these truths, what would you say to them?
The fruit you choose today is the strength you carry tomorrow.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we close this episode. Do not forget to like and subscribe, and see you next time.